DreamKingz Films. We're with Mandarin Mustangs head coach Bobby Ramsay. Hey, coach, you've been on the field with your squad for about 2 weeks now, coach. Real quick, can you just talk about that and what excites you about your group?
Well, I think the way that they've adjusted to the format and really handled it really very well, very mature. They've come out here and bought into everything that we're doing, and even though it's maybe a little more scaled back than they would like, there haven't been any issues as far as them being frustrated with not being able to do certain things they maybe wish they could do right now, and it's really worked out well. I think from a detail standpoint that we've been able to focus on a lot of those things. So I'm really happy with what the players are doing right now.
Yes, sir, coach. How difficult was it for you and your coaching staff to adjust to the new normal?
Well, I think it's as big a challenge as I've ever faced because there's no precedent for it. It's not, you can't really go to anybody else and say, how have you handled this before? What's the best thing to do? You just have to take your cues from the medical people and the people who know what's best, and really do your best to make sure that you stay on the players on a day-to-day basis about it. But I think once establishing the routine was done, things were easier. But certainly when you're planning it, when you look at it the first time, you say, like, oh, how am I going to do this? But fortunately, the staff, we got together, and I think we were able to put a pretty good plan together.
Yes, sir, coach. How did you keep the bond with your teammates during the COVID-19 pandemic?
We did a lot of Zoom stuff. The position coaches were really good with their guys. Players had to check in every day with them, let them know that they were working out. We stayed in touch via technology as much as possible, and we had some team meetings. We had a couple of different speakers. I was fortunate to have Derrick Henry talk to the team and a couple of different times. So when they were able to at least see each other and stay connected and feel connected, that was the biggest thing that we just wanted to continue to stress to them.
Yes, sir, coach. We all know spring football, that's big recruiting-wise here in the city. How did y'all adjust to that, coach, losing spring recruiting-wise?
I think we just had to be real proactive as far as getting as much information out there as we could about our players. Fortunately, the colleges were good about contacting us, so we were in a good position there. I think it would have been nice. I would have liked for them to seen some of these guys in person, obviously. But having said that, I think that they're still in a position to really impress in the fall. But I think most of us would have liked to have had an opportunity for the coaches to come down and at least eyeball some of these guys, because especially from your junior, your senior year, there's a lot of physical changes that go on. So I think just a lot more letting your fingers do the walking kind of thing.
Yes, sir, coach. Let's talk about some of your talent. Offensive line, let's start there. What excites you about that group, coach?
Well, we return a lot of experience. We have guys like Nick Wilbur, who's a 3-year letterman and was our top backup on the 2018 team. And it's their 3rd year in the system, and they're a pretty cohesive group, and I think they've grown well together and gelled. So we're looking forward to that. Should be a strength, where last year we had basically a brand new offensive line. It should be a strength for us this year.
Yes, sir, coach. Same question with the receivers. You got Jalen, Tristan, Devon. There's 3 terrific guys right there. Can you just talk about what they bring to the table?
Yeah, we're real fortunate there. Those 3 guys have been with us again on varsity since 2018. They all have really tremendous attributes, whether it's athleticism or off the field, the character, the work ethic, and they really enjoy what goes into being a football player, and they're consistent with their production. And then we've got some guys. Austin Clemens is another one, who's a veteran for us, who we really feel like can do a good job and help us. And then we've also got Trey Jolly coming back off injury, and Trey was a kid we were really excited about in the 9th grade. And then Jeremiah Shack coming up from 9th grade is a guy that we feel like has a chance to make a serious impact.
Yes, sir, coach. Jeremiah Shack, like you mentioned, 9th grader, kid with a bunch of talent and potential. Can you just go into detail a little bit more about Jeremiah, coach, and what makes him so special?
I think first off, physically, the way he stands out in his position. I mean, I don't mean to put too big a comparison, but it reminds me of Derrick in a way, where you just saw a guy at a position that physically just stood out among everybody else. And he's again, he does a lot of the right things. He works hard. He's got a good attitude. He's humble. He's taken the process one step at a time, and he's really worked on his craft. and so he's doing all the right things. He's setting himself up to be a great football player.
Yes, sir, Coach. Chris Freeman, John Parkins, both guys are poised to step into a bigger, expanded role this year. Can you just talk about what your two horses going to bring to the table?
Well, they're I don't know if thunder and lightning is fair. I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of overplayed. But John is that big physical back, and Chris has tremendous speed. And we have a junior, Ellis Davis, who we're very excited about, and then TJ Lane as a sophomore coming up as a guy that we have really high hopes for. So it's a good problem to have. We've got 4 guys that we really feel like can play. John has the most experience in the sense that he's a senior and he's been in the system for 3 years. So you always want to see a senior play like a senior, and the same thing with Chris. We'd really love to be able to see what he can do with when he gets the ball in space and opportunity to run, because he's very athletic.
Yes, sir, Coach. Trey Lawrence, the city wants to know, can he step up and take it to the next level out here at Mandarin?
Oh, absolutely. I tell everybody, if there never would have been Carson Beck, we were fine going into 2018 with Trey as our quarterback. And I've always said I've never lost any sleep when we had Carson, if Trey would have to go in. And when his number's been called 2 years ago, like I said, he gave us an opportunity to beat Godby. We didn't do the job on defense, and Lee, he played well enough for us to win too. And we were fortunate we were able to get him on the field last year and take advantage of his athletic ability, and he'd earned the right to play. But I think he's as good as any quarterback in the area. I really do. And he's put in the time. He's kind of an anomaly in that regard. But we're very, very excited about Trey. We think he's going to have a tremendous year.
Yes, sir, Coach. Just talk about your defense for a little bit. You got a bunch of studs on that side. Well, what excites you about that group, Coach?
Again, I think we return a core group who's in their 3rd year in the system and kind of knows what to do. And we have some guys that we feel like could be game changers. Nick Mitchell, is a guy who we feel like can take his game to that level of being a guy who makes game-changing plays. And he's got a lot of length. He's kind of becoming this positionless player, which is everybody's kind of looking for that guy, that hybrid guy who can do different things for you. Carlos Jackson and Matthew Craig inside are 2 defensive tackles that a lot of high schools you're lucky to have one, and we're fortunate to have 2 really good ones. And then some guys on that group as well who are really just going to just beat people with aggressiveness, quickness, hard work. Brian Safar, Trey Jones, Jean-Luc Foch are 3 guys that we're really fired up about as well. Kylan Washington is a kid coming up who we like, has some length. And then you look at the linebacker core. Carmelo Murphy was a really good. He played varsity as 9th grade and started for us until he got injured halfway through the year. So, we think Carmelo's special. We have guys like another senior, Chris Newton, who's been in the program 4 years, who's worked extremely hard, who's going to help us. We have a lot of interchangeable parts. I think we feel like in that kind of middle 4 of the defense. Tony Carter, safety, is a player that I would definitely keep an eye on. I think he's got a chance to be really, really good. And then on the back end, I think we're blessed with two really good corners in Devron Lewis and Joseph Lewis, guys that we're going to put a lot of eggs in their basket and challenge them to be guys who can allow us to maybe do some things on defense that we didn't do last year. And then we have 2 safeties in Uriel Richardson and DeAndre Johnson, who are just really good athletes, great kids, great students. Uriel's been a 3-year letterman for us. He's played on both sides of the ball. DeAndre's a kid that we moved to defense this year, but runs really well. And we have a lot of competition on that side of the ball, and we've challenged our guys. Hey, look, we're looking for 11 football players, and we're going to put the best 11 out there. That's always our goal. So, these guys know they have to bring it on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, sir, Coach. You mentioned Carmelo and Kylan Washington. Any guys besides those 2 young guys that may be stepping up on that defense?
Coming up as 10th graders, those were Kylan's 11. Those will probably be the 2 guys that in 10th, 11th grade.
Yes, sir. Coach, let's go off the field for a little bit. You got large numbers out here, Coach. Did you find that difficult adjusting to the plan that the athletic directors set forth for the county?
I think the small groups really worked well, and I think as you take that next step to more players out there, to more people around, you really, again, I go back to, you've got to really establish that routine and make sure that the players are being instructed what to do, and that ultimately that they will, the older guys will look out for the younger guys and point them in the right direction. So, and bringing a few more guys on that weren't in phase one, making sure they knew where to go and making sure they knew who to check in with and they had all their paperwork and all that stuff. Those things are probably some of the more nerve-wracking things as a coach that you have to do, because you want to make sure that you can't make any mistakes there. So, once we got through that part, and again, into day 2 of this, I feel like we're in a pretty good rhythm right now.
Yes, sir, Coach. A lot of things happen around the world socially during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Sure.
Did you get a chance to talk to your team about anything that was going on in the world, Coach?
I sent them a message on Huddle and really just, I talked to them about, these really a time to be understanding of and I know for myself, you guys being the players, telling them that, you guys need to unzip yourselves and start to see things from other people's perspectives. I think as a staff, we've always, our right is right, our wrong is wrong. And we have a pretty diverse football team here. We have a pretty diverse coaching staff. I think as a coaching staff, we've modeled treat each other with respect. Everyone has value, and the same value when you walk through the door, and it's what you do and who you are that's going to determine how you're treated. But we talked to them about voting. I said, you guys who are 18, you need to vote, and you need to take part in the process. And with the change that you want to see happen, that really is change that isn't as much on the federal level as it is in the state level, the local level. You got to get involved. You got to educate yourself. And I'm guilty of sometimes going into the ballot booth and not really knowing what exactly some of the issues are and who stands for what. So I really encourage them to take part in the process, continue to treat each other with respect. We're always going to, no matter what, we're always going to treat them based on what they do and who they are. And, I feel like we do a really good job as a group of coexisting and getting along really well. But I do think that we have a responsibility as coaches to make sure that we're sending our guys out into the world to where they can impact change, because, really it'll be them who probably makes the most change, in the future. So, and you want them ready to do that, and you want them ready to be successful. And so it's definitely, we haven't had a chance as a team to do anything because of the getting back to where we're at.
Yes, sir.
The guys, you never want to think that your players are going out to a world where they're at a disadvantage. I've always taught my guys that, you go out there and what you do is gonna matter the most. And I don't want that to be a lie. I want that to be reality. So if that's to happen, then all of us have to do a better job. And it's like I said, it's been I think for everybody, myself included, it's really been a good opportunity to kind of go back and not just the current situation, but kind of revisit history and some things that I don't know how much I can get into that with the players, but there's a lot of history that isn't taught, and so you don't know this. When you don't know the background, it's easy to take for granted that well, everything's great and yada yada. But when you go back and you look at race riots that have happened, and lynchings and like the Great Migration. I know I'm getting a little too history here, but
yes,
while those things happened, a lot of it was due to oppression. And so I think it's important that we make sure that they understand all the history, because a lot of it's not taught, and I think it's been eye-opening to see and learn about some of these things. So the players, so I think not just the players, but I think everybody kind of understands that there's a lot of history here that you don't understand, and we're here because of those. We haven't gotten as far as we would like to. So I think the biggest impact as a coach that you can have is on your players. and you know, hopefully sending them out. I didn't mean to ramble on this too much.
No, it's all good, Coach. It's all good.
But you know, I just it's something I really feel strongly about.
Yes, sir. Very important message.
You know, you know, I really, you know, I think all of us want to know that our players are going out into a world that they can walk around, that they can feel safe in, and that, you know, everybody's treated the way they should be treated, just, you know, with value. And, you know, then once you become a part of a group, what you do is going to determine within that group how much value you give yourself, and you know, empower the guys to, again, like, take part in the voting process. I just think that's because that's where they can make the most impact. And you know, I'm excited for them in that sense, that I think that this will maybe, you know, open their eyes to, you know, not ignoring, you know, when it comes time to vote and what the issues are. And I know for myself, like I said, I'm going to do a better job of making sure that I know, you know, exactly who I'm voting for and what they stand for and what they believe in, and you know, put people in policies and position that protect us, and, you know, allow us all, you know, opportunity to thrive, as opposed to, you know, have a group of people be targeted.
Yes, sir. Coach, 2 more questions before we get out of here. Mandarin Mustangs, one of the leading schools academically here in the county. How proud of you was of your team to stay on top of their academics and not fall off during the COVID-19 pandemic, Coach?
You know, I was, you really had no idea how, again, it was so unprecedented. You know, your worst fears are guys are going to sleep till 1 in the afternoon. They're not going to do their work. They're going to, you know, and so I think they did a really good job of making sure that they kept up with their assignments. They knew we were checking on them. I mean, we sent a list out to all the teachers, say, hey, if you have such and such, let us know. But you know, it was a big time for our juniors. It was a big spring for them, because this is pretty much the last opportunity they're going to have to really make an impact on that GPA. And even if guys are qualified, you know, there's still schools that, you know, you need more than that, you know. Or if you don't go Division I, you know, the lower levels, a lot of that aid might be sports and academic based. So, you know, you want to put yourself in a position to be successful. So we were happy with that. There were some guys that, you know, like we had one kid who had a 1.8 in the fall, and now he's got a 2.4, you know. So when you see that happen, you know, I think it not only bodes well for him as a person, but you look at him, okay, so he's starting to get it. So there's some growth and some maturity happening there.
Yes, sir, Coach. The 2024 class, that class right there is very special, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
To any kids that may be coming into Mandarin or any school across the district, they may be finding it hard to get acclimated to the new normal, Coach. Any words of encouragement or advice to the class of 2024 across the district?
Be patient, take it day by day, and eventually we'll get back to normal. Do everything you can to make sure that you've if you haven't been contacted by your coach that you're coming up to play for, or the school you're going to, reach out to that coach, be proactive. Make sure you get yourself in the loop from a communication standpoint, however that team communicates, whether it's email, you know, an app, whatever, you know, Twitter. Get yourself in that loop so you know exactly what's going on, and be proactive about your physical, because they're not doing, the county's not doing physicals this year. So make sure that you've got that part lined up, and stay safe. You know, don't put yourself in a position where you can't be here because of COVID exposure, whatever. You know, be your own advocate there, and when you're there, when you're at the facility, wherever you're at, when you're working, it's really no different than it was before. You give good effort, listen, and be there on a consistent basis.
Hey, Coach, thanks for talking with me. Good luck to y'all future out here at Mandarin.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate
yes,
you,
sir.
Coach.
Yes.